IDAHO4. At approximately 1:32 p.m., they had a call from family members stating there had been a possible party, and Kaylee had been shot and lost her life. Gonsalves' family started calling hospitals, police, trying to get info. They made contact with Moscow PD, and they told them they didn't have any info at that time. Gonsalves' family asked MPD if they should go to Moscow, and they said no and to stay put.
How are you?
Nope.
We're not actually. I don't know who lives here. No, I don't.
You guys haven't been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay, drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
Does everyone do like a wine night? Like, let's just do a wine night.
Yo, is it okay if I have a party? Like just 3 or 4 people at most.
Go. They abandoned property. White claws? White claws. You're gonna be so angry at me. Oh, they're cold too, man. Yeah, these are cold. Yeah. Open one. Hello. You do that? Learn that from a college kid.
All right, Josh. Jordan, you talk to
Yep.
Maddie.
This is one of the owners of us here. She's on the phone right now.
Hi, this is Officer Welsh from Moscow Police Department. Who am I speaking with? Maddie, 1 second. Let me turn the volume up on this phone here.
People want to be dumb.
All right, can you hear me, Maddie?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you live at 1122 Queen Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, hey, the reason that we're here is that we received a noise complaint of loud music, partying. Okay. Once we approached the house, people started running away. They left a bunch of alcohol behind. We're not even coming for alcohol. We're coming for the noise complaint. And then we sat here for approximately 10 minutes trying to knock on the door, and no one would come to the door until these 2 gentlemen came down and actually answered the door. So,
Gotcha.
right now, if I can, I would like to collect your information, your name. Do you live at 1122 Queen Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, hey, Queen Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So,
your body like, shake your body like, move your body like, shake your body like, move your body like, shake your body like, move your body like, shake your body like.
Did somebody escape? Did somebody get away from whoever committed these crimes and get away from the house? Was there more people in this house other than the 6 individuals who were reported to be in this house? Could there have been a 7th person in this house who was an eyewitness to these crimes? It's very possible that there's a witness out there that law enforcement has not informed us about.
On Good Morning Northwest, tragedy on the U of I campus. 4 students dead, another in the hospital. The new information we're learning and the questions we're hoping to be.
Fraternity party leads to overnight stabbing, 2006. That was an August one. 2022, yeah, there was one, Davis, I think that was New Year's Eve. So, New Year, over New Year. Frat house stabbing. A stabbing investigation at a Davis fraternity house has stalled after officers encountered uncooperative witnesses, including the victim of the crime. I'm not going to attempt that name. I'll go with Bezuglov. Oh, Lieutenant Ilya Bezuglov. There we go. Said the clock was approaching midnight. I bet he did. The clock was approaching midnight as I passed through the Theta Chi house at 515 First Street, where the knifing interrupted a party in progress. One of the party participants was stabbed multiple times at the house, sending him to the hospital in critical condition. But when officers tried to determine what happened, every single participant at the party refused to talk to us. As for the victim, who later improved and is expected to recover from his injuries, he doesn't want to participate in any investigation. The point is that it's not so hard to believe that 4 people could be stabbed when there's about 20 or 30 people in a house, but to believe that 4 are stabbed when there's 6 people in the house is much harder to believe. So is it just that this has been suppressed, the fact that there were other people there, possibly because they're in a fraternity? Not necessarily. Could be, I guess, but it is relying on a lot of people to cover something up, possibly. But not necessarily that those people are perpetrators, but it could have been kept quiet that they were there in the first place. It could have been. It may not have been. And it might be that they are involved. But not necessarily, just if there was a party there. Yeah, just because there's a party in the house, it doesn't necessarily follow that the people that have not been mentioned are those that perpetrated the crimes. Because, as we know, fraternities seem to have some privilege, and I mean, in this case, somehow they didn't have to spill, and it was probably helped by the fact that the victim didn't want to speak out either. Although we had a case in the UK where that was. Look at the Caroline Flack case, not to do with fraternities. There aren't any fraternities over here. Thank God, to be honest. Thank God. Elitism at its finest. Elitism, it seems to be alive and well. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that I despise it all. I despise all this. Boarding schools, terrible. Although when I was a kid, I wanted to go to a boarding school desperately because I used to read Mallory Towers books. Enid Blyton, I'm off topic. Yeah, so this party doesn't necessarily follow that they were perpetrators. It could just be they want their names kept out of the press. And look how, because look how Dylan Mortensen has been viewed. Maybe she tried not to come forward, or maybe she was the only person who had the balls to come forward. We don't know. You know, I would hate to find out that things were very different from how we imagine them to be for the sake of all the people who have demonised this person. You could have it completely wrong. And I stand here, and I am literally standing, as a person who has been demonised, and people had it absolutely wrong. And I, no doubt, I'm certain that to this very day think they had it right. They didn't. Things aren't always what they seem. And we've already accepted that. They may not be what they seem. They may not be what the mainstream media has shoved down people's throats. However, are we doing the same? Are we doing exactly the same, but just to a different person? Does there always have to be a villain? Do we always have to be pointing fingers? And I say this as a person who's had the finger pointed at them. We don't know it all. We don't know it all.
Teenager is found eating away at a man's face, according to investigators.
It was very obvious that there was an enormous amount of violence inside that garage.
The couple in their 50s who lived here was stabbed to death in what they're calling a random attack. The teen, Austin Harroff, a 19-year-old student at Florida State University, has no criminal record.
We will be doing sampling of his blood to see if there was flocka or bath salts. Both of those are known to cause what we call the excited deliriums.
To Davis, where police are investigating a stabbing at a New Year's Eve frat party there. Police were called to the Theta Chi frat house on 1st Street just before midnight after someone at the party was stabbed several times. According to the Davis Enterprise, the victim suffered serious injuries but is expected to recover. The victim and everyone at the party refused to cooperate with the police investigation, though. The victim and everyone at the party refused to cooperate with the police investigation, though.
So here's an example. Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity, where 2 students were stabbed Friday, not recognised by UM. This was in 2013 and November again. The 2 University of Michigan students stabbed early Friday morning were trying to keep an unwelcome guest out of a Halloween party held at the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity house. So this is in Ann Arbor. The 21-year-old man from Monroe, who is not a student, stabbed the 2 students outside the fraternity house in the 1400 block of Washtenaw Avenue when they asked him to leave the party after an altercation, according to Ann Arbor police. The suspect was at the party with another man and 2 women, police said. Although recognised by their national office, the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity is not recognised by Greek Life Governing Boards for the Office of Student Involvement, school officials said. That's because That's because in 2011 the fraternity was dismissed, we do need it, from the Intra-Fraternity Council after allegations of hazing that included poking pledges with broomsticks. Where are they poking them? Kicking them in the groin. I can imagine where they're poking them then. And shooting airsoft guns at them. The local fraternity was also suspended by its National Fraternity Office. Although that sanction has since been lifted, the students stabbed Friday are expected to recover from what were described as minor wounds. Police said the suspect is in police custody and is expected to be arraigned for felonious assault. Halloween horror at fraternity party as 5 stabbed. They're always... This is a different year, isn't it? The other one was 2013. Same date, but 2019, this one. And this one's Toronto. Yeah, it was Massachusetts, wasn't it, the other? A male and a female trying to crash a fraternity house party on Madison Avenue went on a slashing and stabbing rampage, wounding 5 people inside just before midnight on October the 31st, police report. The only thing is, you'd think, like in this case, whoever did it would get picked up pretty quickly. Like with mass shootings, they don't usually get very far. So, I do think it's less likely that now. Before, the more time I've had to think about it, though, I just don't know how far you would get. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll read on. A 19-year-old man and 15-year-old girl were arrested and charged with several counts, including attempted murder. Officers were called to 22 Madison Avenue at 11:45 p.m. after receiving a report of multiple stabbings, according to a police press release today. Earlier media accounts said police were responding to reports of a raucous party of about 200 people. Wow, that was getting out of control. Police say the incident began when a man and a girl were denied entry to a private party being held at the address, which houses the Theta Delta Chi fraternity at the University of Toronto. An RU student. What's the R stand for? This is in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So released after being charged in stabbing outside frat party 2017, October the 23rd. Wow, it's again around Halloween. Oh God, a box cutter. Oh. A young man accused of stabbing a fellow student with a box cutter on Delafield Street has been released from county jail to await possible indictment and trial. Don't usually get released, do you, for that sort of thing? Must have somebody talking good talk for him. Or flashing the cash. Robert Manifield, aged 20, is apparently a student at Rutgers University and a member of the Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity, a fact that was first reported by the Tab. According to the Tab's reporting, the incident took place outside of house party held at a satellite house for the fraternity. I was looking at a forum, Tiger Droppings, the other day, and somebody said about how that's what's led me to all this, how they wondered if that house was a fraternity annex, which sounds like it's the same sort of thing as a satellite house. It's basically like an extra house where they can go and party, basically. The fraternity rents it. They pay the rent. I mean, we do believe, and I know that Alana of TNT looked into the rent side of things. I mean, who knows? Could it all be a front? It doesn't seem like it, does it? There's a video of them in the house, so it seems like that situation would be unlikely. But anyway, here I am looking at these stabbings in satellite houses and annexes. The incident took place at approximately, and this is where hazings go on as well, the incident took place at approximately 12:43 a.m. In this incident, the victim reported being approached by a male perpetrator following a verbal altercation, which took place outside of a party. No cases in off-campus residence. The perpetrator assaulted the victim with a sharp object and then fled the scene. The victim sustained non-life-threatening... Yeah, and in all of these cases, it's not like multiple... I mean, one person might have multiple stab wounds, but then again, it depends what they mean by multiple stab wounds. I think what we are assuming is double figures at least when they're saying multiple stab wounds for this case, although we don't know. We don't know. We don't know about this overkill thing that's been leaked. We don't know if that's the truth. It could turn out that there wasn't any overkill. We don't know. But these cases, mainly the injuries are superficial. But the thing is, with a knife, you can just get somebody in the wrong place and it can be curtains for them. I've been looking at these videos about the police being advised, and this is why they shoot when people have got knives, because they're very nervous, because they've watched these videos regarding how dangerous knife attacks are and how it could only take one cut, depending on where you get cut, really. You know, it's arteries, that's the thing, if it hits an artery. The Home News Tribune identified a 20-year-old Rutgers junior from Tom's River, Joseph Vendetta Jr. as the victim. Oh, this is the victim. Suffered three large stab wounds. Nobody in the abdomen. God, nobody wants a large stab wound in the abdomen. One very close to the intestines, so that, you know, it could have been. I mean, that's probably, I don't know how you might still end up with life-changing injuries. A box cutter. Oh God. She said her son then went outside to find his friend when he got into a verbal dispute with a frat member who was controlling entrance to the party. Her son exchanged words with the frat member and was stabbed by the person controlling entrance to the party. Jeez. And he's already free, man, after a week behind bars. Oh my God, unbelievable, isn't it? Okay. 18-year-old arrested after UC Santa Barbara fraternity fight, stabbing. That's 2015. 2 people wounded in apparent stabbing at Tufts University. That's 2015. Is that the same place? No, I don't think so. No Greek link. UT officials say no Greek link to remaining stab victims. Let's have a look at this one. University of Texas confirmed that 2 victims who were injured as part of a deadly knife attack last week are not affiliated with any of the university's Greek organisations. The new details come as students' fears begin to abate after unsubstantiated rumours that the stabbings were targeting Greek organisations ran rampant last week. When was this? 2000 and... No date. Was it 2019? I think it said on... Harrison Brown, the first-year student who died in last week's attack, oh dear, had pledged the fraternity Phi Delta Theta, but opted to withdraw before officially joining, according to campus Greek life officials. Another student, Stuart Bayliss, a member of Lambda Chi Alpha, was badly injured in the stabbing. 2 other people who were also injured have not been identified yet, but UT officials said Tuesday they're not affiliated with frats or sororities, apparently. Everyone was saying if you're wearing Greek letters, turn your shirt inside out. Wow. I honestly still don't know what's true or not, Meek said. There were a lot of rumours. There is no evidence, I love that. There's no evidence that. Yeah, if you don't look for it, there won't be. The man accused of the May 1st stabbings, Kendricks White, targeted members of fraternities or sororities while on his rampage near UT's Gregory Gym. None of the victims of the attack were wearing any clothing that would indicate they were members of fraternities, nor did there appear to be any motive for the attacks beyond White's possible mental health problems. Police Chief David Carter. However, fear of violence against Greek organisations found apparent voice once again Monday after a flyer appeared in student-dominated West Campus urging fraternities to form safety squads under the headline Frats Bash Back. University officials said Monday they were aware of the flyer but were sceptical that students were involved. The West Campus neighbourhood is patrolled by Austin police, who have not commented on the flyer. The flyers were not generated by the Inter-Fraternity Council or, to our knowledge, anyone in the fraternity and sorority community, he said. We deeply respect Harrison's memory and have sought to provide support for his family. We would not use his memory to spark debate. Student falsely reported he had been stabbed while defending woman in the West Campus area hours after the May 1st stabbing. Filed a fake report to cover up the fact he cut himself playing with a knife while preparing for a riot or attack on his fraternity after police reported the stabbings. Suspect charged in Southern Miss fraternity stabbing, 2014. What was that? It was 2017 that they thought fraternities were being targeted. Man gets 6 years in prison in Ohio fraternity stabbing. I've read lots of times about this Ohio one. This guy went in, apparently he's actually still says he's innocent, or he did at the last article I read, which was from a few years ago. It stabbed somebody in their sleep. I think it was the fraternity. You'll probably see it on another. I think I've actually got a screenshot of it, and I'm sure you're going to see it. It was like not a dean, but I don't know, somebody, probably like that Reed Often. I can't pronounce his name. He's got too many consonants together. A man gets 6 years. Yeah, that's the Ohio one. 3 taken to hospital after overnight stabbing outside Annex fraternity. And there's an Alabama stabbing. God, lots of stabbings at fraternities, but not always committed by frats. And fraternity party leads to overnight stabbing, 2006. That was an August one. 2022, yeah, there was one Davis, I think that was New Year's Eve. So over New Year. Frat house stabbing. Should have a look at that. The point is that it's not so hard to believe that 4 people could be stabbed when there's about 20 or 30 people in a house. But to believe that 4 are stabbed when there's 6 people in the house is much harder to believe. So is it just that this has been suppressed, the fact that there were other people there, possibly because they're in a fraternity? Not necessarily, could be, I guess, but it is relying on a lot of people to cover something up, possibly. But not necessarily that those people are perpetrators, but it could have been kept quiet that they were there in the first place. It could have been. It may not have been. And it might be that they are involved. But not necessarily. Not necessarily. Just if there was a party there, it doesn't necessarily mean it could be somebody who was not part of the group, the friendship. It could have been somebody like that one case where they weren't a student of the U of I or of that university, and they came in and went rampant. But like I've said, I do feel like that person would get picked up quickly. But I do feel like that they did. No, they knew something, didn't they? They knew something. I just wondered if somebody ended up in a psychiatric hospital or something. And they felt that that person was the person, but they didn't have, at that point, all the evidence. Because that's the only way I think that you can say that there's not an active threat. So they're not in custody. And as far as we know, they haven't been swatted. They haven't left the country. So what about if they were ended up in a psychiatric hospital following it? What if they were actually injured there, taken to hospital, ended up in psychiatric hospital, but it was thought that they were the one to have been involved, which would then mean, well, that's what I wondered about Brent Kapaka, to be honest, because he's somebody who could have ended up in that, because we don't know if it's just one person or more. A stabbing investigation at a Davis fraternity house has stalled after officers encountered uncooperative witnesses, including the victim of the crime. I'm not going to attempt that name. I'll go with Bezuglov. Oh, Lieutenant Ilya Bezuglov. There we go. Said the clock was approaching midnight. I bet he did. The clock was approaching midnight as I passed through the Theta Chi house at 515 First Street, where the knifing interrupted a party in progress. One of the party participants was stabbed multiple times at the house, sending him to the hospital in critical condition. But when officers tried to determine what happened, every single participant at the party refused to talk to us. As for the victim, who later improved and is expected to recover from his injuries, he doesn't want to participate in any investigation. Wow. Bezuglov said the stabbing tipped off a busy opening weekend for 2022, with police making arrests for domestic violence, drug possession and vehicle theft. Officers made contact with the couple. Hold on, what's this couple? Oh, this is to do with the vehicle theft. Oh, what? Reported seeing a man trying to restrain a woman from running towards the railway tracks. It's not the one where the woman was in the... There was a woman who was put into a police car by a police officer, handcuffed, and the police car was on a railway track and it got hit by a train. She survived, fortunately, but what absolute lunacy. But the officer who put the suspect, it's just a young girl, and it was over something, you know, not... It wasn't like it was over a homicide or anything like that. She hadn't parked the car. It was another officer who parked the car. And I think just in the whole melee of things, she didn't notice where the car was parked. She just took her to... Must have just seen the vehicle and just headed towards it. And she wasn't in her usual... on a usual patch. It was dark. Hadn't noticed that it was on a train track. But who the hell stops? Who the hell parks their vehicle on a train track? But the female officer was the one in court over it. I don't think the male officer who parked the vehicle on the train track was actually being held accountable in any way, which I feel like, yeah, you have some responsibility here. This is just other incidents from that weekend.
this dark night, it's too hard for me to say now if the rays of hope will shine again someday, and if I might be spared as the tempest starts to swell. At this point, it's just too dark to tell. Was the stars guiding me to God's shores now? Was the devil set me drifting once more? Will these clouds ever lift and the map again reveal? At this point, it's just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, but now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, but now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell.